All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Uh, well, we had the big fight this weekend, Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, and obviously, a lot of people are still talking about this fight. There's a lot of internet buzz still going on. There's the debate on whether this is good or bad for boxing. Some people are calling it a joke, calling it a circus, and they even appear to be. Oh, no sound. You guys can't hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So sorry about that audio issue. But so let's talk about the aftermath of this Ben Askren Jake Paul fight because there's a lot of people who are giving feedback and have opinions on this. A lot of negative, not too much positive, and most of the negative is coming from the so-called purists on both sides. The so-called hardcore boxing fan purists and the so-called hardcore MMA purists. And everyone's saying that this was a circus, this is a joke, you know, the usual stuff we get. And a lot of times in life, when you see people that go out of their way to attack a specific thing, criticize a specific thing, you have to ask yourself, what is their motive? Why are they doing this? And a lot of times when people just don't understand or they feel threatened by something, their first instinct is to attack it, to get defensive about it. And I was watching a podcast. It's called Weighing In with Big John McCarthy, former UFC referee, and Josh Thompson, former UFC fighter. And they were talking about this event and they were just trashing it and saying how bad the production was and how much of a joke it was and, you know, insulting everything about this event. All right. But yet they went out of their way on a Saturday night to look for a stream and stream the fight and actually watch it. So if this was such a joke, okay, if this was such a waste of time, if this was such an atrocity, then why would you go out of your way to search out a stream and try to watch it? Why? Why would you do that? If you're so disinterested in this and you have no desire to watch this, or you have no desire to, you know, really say anything good about this fight, if it's such an atrocity, then why did you go out of your way to stream it? And then you're turning around and you're bragging that you streamed it. And then, your big beef is with Trilla, but by streaming the fight, you're not, I mean, you're hurting Trilla, but you're hurting the fighters more. John McCarthy and Josh Thompson, they were saying, oh yeah, we like Frank Mir, we like Steve Cunningham, we like Ben Askren. So there's a lot of you had also you had Regis Perkins on there. So these are guys who make a living fighting. Obviously, Jake Paul makes money fighting, but predominantly he makes a lot of money through his social media, a lot of his other projects outside of boxing. So obviously, this is not his bread and butter. But you're sitting there bragging about how you streamed the fight, and you're sitting there saying, "Oh, this isn't going to last," almost like you're rooting for this thing to fail. So if this is such a joke, why are you putting so much effort? Why are you even talking about all the people who are trashing the event, but they're still talking about it? All you're doing is giving Trilla free promotion. That's what you're doing. So when you watch this event, you have to ask yourself, what are your expectations? what are your expectations? Just like when you had the UFC boxing debate and everyone was trying to compare the two and this and that, it was like the old school boxing fans felt threatened by UFC because they saw UFC was doing well. They weren't around for a long time, but in such a short period of time, they started really making strides. They started really getting a lot of attention. The UFC was, in such a short period of time, became a very successful company. And boxing did not like that. For whatever reason, the hardcores felt threatened by it. And what did they do? They went out and lashed out against the UFC. So now what you have is you have another lane out there. You have another avenue with this celebrity type boxing, or the YouTube personality boxing type thing that's going on right now. Okay. So now everyone's criticizing it and they're saying, well, why does a guy like Jake Paul make more than a guy like Errol Spence would make, or whatever? I don't even know if he's making more than Errol Spence, but some people are claiming that, right? So you're looking at a guy like Jake Paul who's fighting 8 rounders, uh, scoring first round knockouts, whatever. And, you know, he's being criticized because why is he getting so much attention? Why is he making the money he's making while so-called legitimate boxers aren't making what he's making? But once again, it's all about putting asses in the seats. It's, if you can market yourself and you can generate interest in yourself, regardless of why the interest is in you, then, you deserve the accolades and you deserve what all of that brings to you financially. And people want to downplay the whole social media thing. And people say that, okay, social media shouldn't be the determining factor in how legitimate or how popular a fighter should be. But again, the proof is in the pudding. Let's take a look at Jake Paul's social media networks, and we'll compare them to three of the most popular active boxers today on social media. And we'll even throw a boxer who's not active right now, but recently did have one of these so-called circus matchups, in Mike Tyson. So let's look at Jake Paul, his Instagram. He has 15 million followers. He has 20.3 million subscribers on YouTube, and he has 3.8 million subscribers on Twitter, and he has 5.7 followers on his Facebook page, for a total of 31,300,000 social media followers. Then you have Anthony Joshua on Instagram, 12.1 million followers, and he has 725,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he has 3.3 million followers on Twitter, and he has 7 million followers on Facebook. So his social media combined, he has 23,125,000 followers. Canelo Alvarez, Instagram 8.3. His Twitter is 1.6, and his Facebook is 5 million. He doesn't have a YouTube, so he has a total of 14,900,000. Ryan Garcia, his Instagram is 8.6 million. His YouTube is 920,000. He deactivated his Twitter, so he doesn't have a Twitter, and his Facebook is 743,390. So he has a total of 10,263,390. Okay. So let's look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's a retired boxer. He came out and had one of these exhibitions. On Instagram, he has 14.6 million followers. He has 1.89 million subscribers on YouTube. He has 5.6 million followers on Twitter. And on Facebook, he has 8.7 million followers. So his social media combined is 30,790,000 total followers and subscribers. So out of all of these people, Jake Paul is the most popular if you look at all his social media platforms. Mike Tyson, who's not even an active boxer, although he did have the exhibition, he has more than all of the active boxers today, the top most popular active boxers today. He's coming in at 30,790,000. So he's not that far away from Jake Paul. And Anthony Joshua is number 3 at 23,125,000. Canelo Alvarez is number 4 at 14,900,000, and Ryan Garcia is number 5. So obviously, this social media is having a huge impact on the popularity of not only the boxers, but all athletes in the world. It's totally paid dividends for people. So these guys have learned to use social media to their advantage, and it's helped them out significantly. That's why, people can say what they want about Mike Tyson, but, his pay-per-view with Roy Jones was the highest selling combat sports event in terms of pay-per-view numbers. It had the most pay-per-view numbers of any boxing event this year. It even did more than Fury Wilder 2. Okay? So, the proof is in the pudding here, guys, right? And then people want to criticize this matchup, but then when you put out matchups like, you have a fight with Jamal Charlo, who's supposed to be an up and coming champion. He's going out there and fighting Juan Montiel instead of fighting a guy like Demetrius Andrade. Instead of fighting a guy like Gennady Golovkin, instead of fighting someone like Canelo Alvarez, instead of fighting someone like David Benavidez. So, because of boxing failing to put on the big fights like Crawford and Spence, and then Teofimo Lopez versus Tank Davis or Ryan Garcia, because these other fighters are doing what they're doing, they can't complain. People can't complain that we're getting this, because what is boxing doing right now to take away from these other matchups? So in other words, this what we're seeing right now with a lot of these celebrity matchups is basically a byproduct of the failure of boxing to make the big fights that the public wants. So people can complain all they want, but boxing is shooting itself in the foot. So boxing, as Lou DiBella once said, is its own worst enemy. So I know Jake Paul came out and he said, well, this fight is going to do 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. He basically came out and said that the early numbers are 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, and obviously it's too early to really have a definitive figure now. But he's basically projecting that. I'm sure someone's in his ear saying that is a possibility. But is it really unrealistic to think that? Because if you run the numbers here, so Jake Paul has 31,300,000 social media followers throughout the whole throughout his whole social media network. Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, that 10%, we're going to be very conservative here. Let's say 10% of his social media following watched this fight. That's 3,130,000 people, 330 million people watching this event, right? And then you say, well, how many of them paid for it? Well, let's just say, for the sake of argument, at least half of the people who watched the fight paid for it. Okay? Let's say half of the people who watched the fight actually paid for it. So that would be 1,565,000 people who would have paid for the fight. If half the people who watched it, based off that 10% figure that I just gave, if half those people paid for it at $50 a pop, right? That's 78,250,000 for a guy who's fighting in an 8-rounder with 2 years or just under 2 years boxing experience. You name any pro in the world that's been fighting for 2 years who can generate the amount of attention for an event that Jake Paul can. So don't hate the player, hate the game. It's not his. I mean, this guy has capitalized on his marketing skills. He's learned how to market himself. He's developed a following, whether you love or hate him. It is what it is. So to sit there and say that the claims of 1.5 million pay-per-view buys are ridiculous, again, this guy has more social media followers than any active top boxer today. So I think at the very least, this fight does a million pay-per-view buys. I'm just going to be honest. I just don't see how this does not do a million pay-per-view buys. You can say what you want about the streams. You could say this or that. But even the people, even all those streams that are out there, someone has to pay for this fight. Someone's paying for this fight. Okay? So if you just think of the numbers that I laid out there for you, which I think, again, that's just my opinion, but think about it. If 10% of the people who follow this guy, Jake Paul, on social media watch the fight, and half that 10% paid for it, then yeah, that 1.5 million pay-per-view buys is not out of the realm of possibility. It's not ridiculous. If Mike Tyson, with his huge social media following and obviously his legendary reputation, if he was able to do, they saying that the numbers were 1.6 for his event, is it really crazy when you look at Jake Paul's following on social media? Is it really ridiculous and outlandish and out of the realm of possibility to suggest that this fight will do 1.5 million pay-per-view buys? So if you love or you hate this event, if you love or you hate Jake Paul, okay, the data is irrefutable. I mean, people, whether they love or hate him, they talk about him. They watch him. They're interested in him. And even if you're streaming the fight and you're not paying for it, but then you go on your YouTube channel and you talk about it, or you go on your social media account, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and you talk about it, whether you're trashing it or you're loving it, that's all free promotion for Jake Paul. That's all it is. So as long as somebody's talking about him, whether they love or they hate him, they're giving the guy attention. Okay? I just love it when people take the time out of their day on a Saturday night. Okay, a Saturday night where most people don't even work, and usually they can go out and do things and hang out with their friends or their loved ones, or go out with your wife or your girlfriend, whatever. So you're going to actually take your Saturday night, stay home, and go out of your way to actively stream a fight that supposedly is a joke to you, that you think is trash. So you're going to sit there and watch something that you think is trash, just so you can go the next day and talk shit about it. What does that say about you as a person? What does that say about you as a person? You must have no life if that's the extent of your Saturday night. You know, there's a lot of things that don't interest me in the world, right? I'm not a fan of bobsledding, right? I'm not a fan of speed skating, right? I'm not a fan of snooker. There's a lot of things that just don't interest me, right? That aren't my cup of tea. So do I have to actively go out and criticize those things that don't interest me and trash those things that don't interest me? No, I just don't watch them. I just don't watch them. So if something is so bad and something is such a joke, but yet you're going to go out of your way to watch it, then they already got you. They're winning. They're winning one way or the other. They're winning. They're winning. The fact that Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson talked about this event for about 45 minutes, and they bragged about how they streamed it, right? they bragged about how they streamed it, then what does that say about them? What does that say about them? So Jake Paul's doing his thing. He's making a lot of money doing it. He's successful doing it. And if anyone in the boxing world wants to criticize what Jake Paul's doing, that they need to then step up your game. Step up your game. Make these big fights. Okay, I know we're in the pandemic or whatever, but if you don't give us fights like friggin' Charlo and Montiel. Don't give us those types of fights. Don't give us fights like Andre and Liam Smith. I like Liam Smith, but Liam Williams, excuse me. I like Liam Williams, but again, is that the fight? Is that the type of fight we really want to see Demetrius Andrade in? Okay. Don't give us fights like Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola. Don't give us these type of fights. And if boxing is going to give us these type of fights, then nobody has the right to complain about this if the alternative is that. What's the difference? What is the difference? What is the difference what Jake Paul is doing compared to another fighter fighting somebody that has no chance of beating him? What is the difference? What is the difference of Jake Paul, who's a 3-0 boxer, okay, with just under 2 years experience? Name any boxer in his position that is in the same situation that he's in his career. Are they going out there fighting guys that are world beaters? No. Every fighter when they first start out is being built up. This guy turned pro fighting a 6-rounder, where most pros turn pro fighting 4-rounders. He's fighting an 8-rounder in his third fight, when most people don't start fighting 8-rounders until their 10th or 12th fight. Most guys who turn pro. So this guy's already fast tracking himself. Okay, and once again, love or hate him, I don't think he's a world-class boxer. I don't think he'll ever be a world champion at cruiserweight. But at the end of the day, he has legitimate boxing skills. When I watch him in the ring, he is displaying proper technique, and he is showing me that he at least knows how to box. There's no way he's going to ever be elite, whatever. But for a guy that's only been boxing for just under 2 years, okay, to be able to fight like he's fought, for a guy that's started boxing at 20 years old, and to be where he's at and just to watch him box, I have to be honest, I'm impressed with his skills. I'm impressed with his skills, and he seems to be getting better. His technique seems to be better. He seems to be setting up the shots better. Okay, he seems to be learning a lot of the little subtleties of the sport of boxing, throwing feints, just body footwork and body positioning, how to open up his opponent. He's not going out there flailing and bombing away. He's actually setting up his shots. Okay. To me, I think he's got more skill than Ebony Bridges, but because he doesn't look like Ebony Bridges, of course, people aren't going to love him like they love Ebony Bridges. You have no problem with someone like Ebony Bridges. You have no problem, with that, but you're going to criticize this. And I have no problem with Ebony Bridges either, but I call it for what it is. Ebony Bridges hope she makes all the money she can make, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to say she's more skilled than what I'm looking at. I'm not going to be intellectually dishonest and tell me that if Ebony Bridges is going to be looked at as legitimate, then this guy is going to be looked at as legitimate then, in my opinion. Because I don't think Ebony Bridges is a world-class fighter. I don't think she has exceptional skills at all. I think she's just average at best. Okay? But you have no problem giving her the attention. So why is everyone hating on this kid? So to be honest, I have no problem with this, and I think people that do have a problem with it, they have to really look deep inside themselves, and they have to ask themselves, why do they have a problem with this? Do you hate this guy so bad that you have to just trash this event because of the hate for him. So you have to ask yourself, is his boxing skills really that bad, or is your hate for him really that strong that you're just going to trash this guy because you don't like him? That's the reality of the situation. The kid's being trashed because a lot of people don't like him, and you don't have to like him. But when you hate on a kid for doing something in which he's being successful at, he's drawing attention to the sport of boxing. He's putting guys like Regis Prograis on his cards. Trilla is going to be putting on Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. So they're actually looking to promote the sport of boxing and do something good for the sport of boxing. You may not love the fights, but what they're trying to do is show the sport of boxing to as much eyeballs as they can. People who normally wouldn't watch the sport of boxing, they're setting up and putting the sport of boxing in a situation where it's going to be able to be viewed by people that normally wouldn't watch it. Most of the fighters have no problem with it. It's just these so-called hardcore fans that have the problem with it. Don't watch it. But you will, but you can't not watch it, because again, you want to watch it so you can talk shit about it. And by talking shit about this, it makes you feel good about yourself. The old equation of trying to subtract from others to add to yourselves. That's all it is. That's all it is. So it's like the guy who has a girlfriend and breaks up with the girlfriend, but he still keeps talking about that girlfriend to all his friends. You go out with your friends, and you have these conversations with your friends, and then, but the kid keeps talking about that girlfriend that he supposedly doesn't like anymore, that he supposedly broke up with, and all he does is talk shit about that girl, right? And then when people listening to this guy, they say to themselves, well, supposedly he hates this girl. He doesn't like this girl. This girl is such trash, but yet he still keeps talking about her. Why? Because there's something about that girl that he just can't stop talking about. That girl still has the power over him, and he just can't let go of it. So does he really dislike that girl as much as he says? Or is he just jealous because he can't be with that girl anymore and he wants to? So these guys really think that Jake Paul is so much of a joke, or are they just jealous because they're seeing him be successful and they just don't understand why? And they don't like his method of success. They don't like the reason why he is successful. And they're just so against it. So it's more about them being jealous, if anything, in my opinion. Just like that guy who's no longer with that girl anymore, but still keeps talking about that girl and supposedly doesn't like that girl anymore, but yet he keeps talking about her. So if you don't like Jake Paul, you don't like these celebrity boxing or these YouTube boxing matchups, but you continue to talk about them, then you have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. You have to ask yourself why. Once again, there's a lot of things I don't like that I'm not interested in, right? A lot of things I don't like. I'm not really particularly interested in beach volleyball. Do I do videos trashing beach volleyball? Just don't watch it. Just don't watch it. If you don't like it so much, just ignore it. Just don't watch it. But you can't stop. You can't stop. Because everybody, regardless, loves to watch a train wreck. And if you think this is a train wreck, you're going to stop and you're going to watch it. So this kid's going to continue to win. This kid's going to continue to win. So what's the sense of hating on this kid? He's going to continue to win. So at the end of the day, I look at Jake Paul for what he is. I have no problem with Jake Paul. I think he's doing his thing. Shout out to him. I think he's actually helping the sport of boxing by bringing attention to the sport of boxing by having more eyeballs, like I said, that normally wouldn't be watching it. Regis Prograis said the same thing. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, if you have a problem with this, look deep inside yourself and ask yourself why you have a problem with this. And is this really the problem? Or is so-called legitimate or real boxing or hardcore boxing, is that the problem? Or is this the problem? Ask yourself that. Ask yourself that. Ask yourself that. Why can't I express why I don't like it? Free country, brother. When did I say you couldn't do it? I'm asking you, why are you putting so much time into saying you don't like something when you can just ignore it? What does it do? What does it do for you? Like, I don't like grilled cheese sandwiches. So what do? I just don't eat them. I don't make them. Do I have to go around when I go into a restaurant and say, "Hey man, do you have grilled cheese sandwiches on the menu?" That's a shitty sandwich. Why do you have that on the menu? No, I just don't order it. I don't eat it. I don't think it's productive for a human being who supposedly doesn't like something to continue to talk about it when they can't change it. What is the goal of you saying that something sucks, that you hate something, that something is a joke, but yet you continue to talk about it? No, I don't like cheese. I'm not a big cheese guy. I hate grilled cheese sandwiches. So that's the thing. You could talk about it all you want, but why are you talking about it? What is the benefit of you talking about it? When people complain about something that they can't change, or that really doesn't affect their life one way or the other, then they're just going out of their way to find things wrong with other people, generally, in my opinion, because there's something missing in their life. For John McCarthy and Josh Thompson on a Saturday night, both guys are married, right? They have wives, they have families, right? For them to sit there and trash an event, but yet actively go out there and look for a stream just so they could watch it, just so they could trash it the next day on their podcast. What does that say about themselves? If there was enough things going on in boxing and UFC, then they wouldn't have time to talk about this event that they so-called hate so much, or that was such a joke. So once again, you have to ask yourself, why would you actively search for a stream to watch something that you don't like? Ask yourself why you did that. No, this is the Weighing In podcast with John McCarthy and Josh Thompson. Yeah, all they're doing is they're just miserable. If you watch their podcast, for the most part, all they do is complain. They always complain about something. They're always trashing something. They're always trying to tear something down. They always got a problem with something or somebody, That's the thing. All right, guys. That's all I got for today, man. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. And yeah, man, I don't know. What was so bad about what happened on Saturday night? The numbers, I'm curious to see when the numbers come out. I don't see how this does under 1 million pay-per-view buys. Not with the following that Jake Paul has. I just don't see it. And then you had Ice Cube there. You had Snoop Dogg there. You had all these. You had Too Short there. You had all these artists that are very popular. And again, now you're gonna grab that genre of people. That you're gonna grab that section of the audience. The fans of those people are going to tune in for this. So I just don't see how this is, they could miss with this. I just don't see. I don't see how they can miss with this event. I don't see how it doesn't do over a million pay-per-view buys. I think it's going to do about 1.4, 1.5 million. My prediction is this does 1.4 million pay-per-view buys. That's my prediction. That's my prediction. So I don't see how that's not a success. I don't. And then you got guys like John McCarthy and Josh Thompson saying, "Oh, well, they won't be able to do this for much longer. They'll probably do it for 1 or 2 fights, and then it'll be dead." How in the like? Where did you guys get your degree in marketing and economics for you to make a determination just because you don't like it? What get how do you come to that conclusion that they're not going to be able to do more of these events? I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya made an ass of himself, but once again, now people are going to be like, "Oh, I want to see Oscar De La Hoya fight now." He looked like a train wreck on that broadcast with Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Can he actually fight now? Can he actually fight now, or is he going to be a train wreck? Is he going to be a mess entering the ring? Once again, controversy sells, and you had a bit of that as well on Saturday night. And then you had Jay Leon Love, who is a guy that was a pro boxer, but really wasn't extremely popular. All right. He's trending on Google right now because of the back and forth he had with Daniel Cormier. And you're going to sit there and tell me that this was a waste of time on Saturday, that nobody cared about it? If you go on Google Trends, let's go on Google Trends right now, right? We're going to go Google Trends. Google trending, right? Let's open this up. And we're going to we're going to search for sports, right? And we're going to look at some of the trends here. Let's put boxing in here. Okay. Let's put boxing. See what's trending right now. Okay. Nate Robinson, for whatever reason, is trending right now. Okay. Eddie Hall, British strongman, right? Leo Santa Cruz is trending right now for whatever reason. Roy Jones Jr. is trending right now. And Jake Paul is trending as well. Okay? Related queries. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, Nate Robinson boxing, Nate Robinson, ESPN Boxing Club. So when you put boxing in here right now, and what's trending, it's not Errol Spence, it's not Terrence Crawford, it's not even Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. It's mostly celebrity boxing stuff. And then you got Roy Jones Jr. in there because, again, he fought Mike Tyson in a so-called, one of these exhibitions. So this just goes to show you, the state of the sport of boxing right now, whether you love or you hate it. Actually, that's the gist of it. Yeah. That's the gist of it. I mean, that's crazy. That was the past 12 months. Let's look at the past hour, and we're going to look at the category, and we're going to put sports in again for the past hour, and let's see what's trending. Wow, Top Rank company, celebrity boxing television show, women's boxing. Jay Leon Love is trending at number 4, and Anderson Silva is trending because, once again, he's going to be fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So why the hell is Jay Leon Love trending? Why? Because he was there on Saturday night. He's in Jake Paul's camp, right? So this is a guy who normally wouldn't be talked about at all. And he's being talked about because he was tied to this event on Saturday night. So once again, this is a boxer who's been grinding his whole career, and no one's really talked about him, with all due respect. But now, because he was part of this event, he's being talked about. And you're going to sit there and tell me that this didn't have a positive effect on the sport of boxing? It does have a positive effect on the sport of boxing, because people who are going to criticize this event, the powers that be in the sport of boxing, the so-called diehards or whatever, they're going to have to step their game up now. This forces them to put on better fights if they want to compete. If they want to compete and they want to do these numbers that Jake Paul's doing and that Mike Tyson's doing, they're going to have to step up their game, right? They're going to have to put this Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight together. The pressure is on them now. The pressure's on them now. That's it. All right, guys. Beeb is out. Until next time, thank you so much. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. And yeah, it is what it is, man. Don't hate, appreciate. All right, peace out, everyone. Stay safe.